Here is part 2 of our alternator removal. This one coming out longer than I expected, but it's okay, we will make it through this together. Alright, I think I spent most of my time trying to get it out of here. I thought I had enough space, but obviously I didn't. So what you're gonna have to do is remove the intermediate shaft bearing cover. That little half cover is gonna have to come out. Surprisingly, that's the space that we need, aside from the heat shield too, but we'll get to that in a little bit. Now that's off. We're gonna try to wiggle it. Once again, I did not have enough space here, so I had to kind of bend this, since it's harder to remove than to just bend it and then bend it back. Try not to get too aggressive with it, as it is aluminum, so you can end up, what's the word, cracking? Once you have enough wiggle room though, it will come out. Just need to play the wiggle game as usual. Slash not so little. You'll see that I almost dropped it and managed to hold on to it at the last second. Needed some help from my little pad bar here. Sometimes you just need it. Now it's time to get the new one in. Man, this job requires you to play the wiggle game quite a few times. But once it gets in there, then it gets a little bit easier. Also, be careful when you're moving this, because the half shaft will move. If you notice right here, it moved on me a little bit, so I have to kind of get it back on there. Don't want that out of place. Alright, so I might as well put this bracket back on before we start losing stuff. Just kidding. But no, I would suggest putting it back as quickly as possible, just to get that out of the way. And definitely do not forget to tighten it. Because you don't want to hear my story on what would happen if that were to come off. So that's in there. That's on there. Alright. Hopefully this is the best view I can possibly offer you this afternoon. So, I'm putting this on that upper stud, that way it holds it, makes my life easier. Now I'm going to put this plastic vent cover back on. I know quite a few people that do not like putting this back on, but I would suggest installing it back on there. It's there for a reason, so might as well stick it on there. If you don't do it, then obviously that's at your discretion. But we're going to go ahead and install this. Yeah? Okay, cool. Alright, moving on. Let's stick that stud in there. Now that we have that plastic piece on, since we don't really need to shuffle it back and forth anymore. Look at my little O'Reilly ratchet. Hey, it does the job. But I do miss my little stubby 1/4-inch ratchet. But that's another story. Let's not get into that before we have sad moments, sad memories. Let's see. While we wait though. Oh, alright, here we go. Let's install this nut. We also have that bolt in there. Get that upper nut in there as well. Make sure those are nice and tight. Alright, let's try again. Maybe this time it'll work. Don't know what happened the first time, but the second time should fix that. Alright, here we go again. And sorry, I'm making weird noises. Tends to happen. Alright, now we're gonna put this guy back on there. It's really only goes on one way, so you can't install that incorrectly, in my opinion, but you know, things happen. Sorry if this video is moving a little bit left and right. It's a pretty small space, so kind of hard to work and give you that good visual. Alright, so that's on there. The second part of the plastic is on there. Sweet. Now that that's all buttoned up, let's go ahead and reinstall our tensioner along with our crank sensor. So let's go one by one. Two bolts. Bam and bam. Always put it in as quickly as you can. Sometimes I get a little stiff with my fingers, so we bring in the ratchet, but happened to be okay on this occasion. Alright, here we go. That's done. Let's double check this one. Alright. Also try not to go too crazy on those because they will break. And that would not be a pleasant time, as I usually say. Alright, right now I'm going to go ahead and try to route this belt. As always, try to take pictures, or if you're able to get your hands on a serpentine belt diagram, then obviously that's going to help substantially when it comes time to reinstall. So let's get that on there. The spacing up top is a little tedious, but you'll find your way to make it work. Once you get the belt where it's supposed to go, you can continue going on over here, and then from there move on to the next pulley. I'm showing you all this so you can see just how tedious it can get. Sometimes it's pretty straightforward and it'll go on without moving back and forth, but other times the belt will slide off and then you'll have to go back and redo it again, and it's a pain. Granted, there are worse cars than this, but when you're trying to move fast, that's where you don't want that. Or when you're just tired and want to go have lunch, then that's where it's no fun. But we're almost there. So now what I'm going to do is grab my ratchet wrench that I use, put it on that tensioner, get in there, come on, and then move this way and get it on the compressor. Alright, make sure everything's sitting properly, and now we're pretty much done with that portion. We're going to go ahead and move this out of the way a little bit. Grab that crank sensor that's just hanging and stick it on there. Make sure that the harness isn't twisted, so it's not stressing the wires any more than it should. Tighten those guys up. And we're set on that. Finally, here comes our plastic cover once we have that all in place. Plastic cover, where are you? Alright, let's put this up here. And here it is. 2 10mm. Slide it up in there. Make sure that's on, and that's it. After this, you're going to go ahead and reconnect the battery. Make sure that's up, and you can turn on, and you're set to go. Alright, thanks for watching.